Welcome, everybody, to the Synapse Philosophy Group. I'm your host, Dr. Haig John, and we're on D.D. Palmer's book, page 839. We've got a few pages to read tonight. A little bit, we're going to do some, not too much skipping, but we're going to go figure it out. And then, we're on D.D. Palmer's 1910 book, The Chiropractor's Adjuster. How's everybody doing?
Great.
I'm going to get started. The chiropractor's work. This is a poem. Oh, there's Barry. Let me just let him in. The chiropractors are a band of noble workers, true and grand. They truly labor all day long, striving to make right of the wrong. They've studied well the human frame, and of each part they know the name. They know just where the nerves extend, and to this fact much doth depend. These tiny nervous threads doth play a most important part, they say, in the condition of our health, which is to man far more than wealth. The vertebra compose the spine from which those slender nerves do wind. Quite often from their duty stray, from various causes in life's way. Now, when these little bones go wrong, the nerves, as they ramble along, are impinged upon here and there, causing disease which needs repair. It seems to me 'tis plain to see that vibration changed must be when pressure on these nerves doth come, make these nervous threadlets numb. If the blood from its fountain source does not well run throughout its course, the body must suffer much. This fact we know without research. Chiropractors must first inspect, remove, first must inspect, remove the cause, not treat effect. Impingements they seek to relieve, and then much benefits receive. So to the vertebra they go, adjust the displacement just so, that they in their places must be, so that they from disease be free. When the cause has been removed, kind nature can do us good. Disease no longer is within, and we a happy life begin. We know that without health 'tis vain, much pressure in the world to gain, but that
Pleasure.
with all things change doth seem, into our lives great joy doth gleam. May God bless chiropractors true, that they still greater work may do. For well we know that from on high, great blessings come to those who try. The Health Journal, St. Paul, Minnesota. That was a little ditty. I like that one. So, did he talk about health? Oh, yeah, I think they did. That was for Barry down there.
Page are we on, please?
Pardon?
What page?
841. We just read 839 and 840. We're going to 841 called Tone and Functions. Now, there's a lot in this, and he's asking questions. And these are good questions for chiropractors to ask to know about, okay? We're going to read, I'm just going to skip a quote at the bottom that's not necessary, okay? Anybody have any insights or want to say anything? I'm starting. 841, Tone and Functions. What is the basic principle of chiropractic? The element of proposition from which all other chiropractic principles have sprung. It is tone. What is tone? Normal tension. Now I'm going to stop right there because we have a lot of people that get very complicated with tone. He's being so simple, but also how powerful each word, and that's what he's going through, each word of what each means, because each word speaks paragraphs, right? Each word. What is tension? It is renitency, the elasticity of tissue in a healthy state. We studied quite a bit of that in chiropractic school, I remember. What is renitence? It is normal resisting pressure acting against an impulse by elastic force, known as tonicity. What is tonicity? It is a state of healthy tension or partial normal contraction of muscles, ligaments, and nerves. What is contraction? It is shortening of a living fiber with consequent thickening by the application of a stimulus. In it may be traumatic, toxic, auto, or nervous. There we go again. Toxins, traumas, and thoughts, right? What is a stimulus? It is anything that rouses or excites the vital energies of an organ or part of the body to increased functional activity. What is energy? It is the power to produce action, the ability to overcome resistance. What is functional activity? It is the action of an organ, whether physiological or pathological. From whence does the power originate? It is inherent and dependent upon the tension of the organ from whose function is being performed. What is physiological action? The normal functioning of the body and organs. What is pathological action? Is the vital action expressed in a degree either greater or lesser than normal, resulting in abnormal functionating, and morbid tissue. What is morbid tissue? The tissue of disease organs. Morbid is used as a technical or scientific term in contradiction to healthy. What is disease? This is a big one. A condition consisting of a change in position or structure of a part or an organ. Also, a change in one or more of its functions. Abnormal functions and morbid tissue are coexistent. Now, I'm going to just stop there a moment. Pasquale talked very often about the heart being over in left field. And if you've ever seen any Catholic icons of Jesus or Mary with a heart in the center, heart-centered. We talk about that quite a bit. We're heart-centered care, but really our heart's out in left field. Where is dis-ease? He talked about this. This may be some area he got this inspiration, but a change in position or structure of a part or an organ. So we've been living in a diseased function as we're out in left field. As we change our structure, do you guys remember this, Bob and Carol? Structure determining function. As we become centered in our heart becomes centered. We're heart centered. Then we leave that dis-ease state and we become at ease. We're still working through that as this living being, as a human being. All right, I had to get that part out. Should I keep going a little bit?
I just want to point out that what this does is effectively it builds as you go through from a state of tone to a state of disease, and you layer by layer by layer. Each piece builds on the one before it, and it's a very succinct and very detailed description of each of these components as we've gone through that.
And it's genius. And this is the way we should be reading in reality. And we do that. We look up terms. We don't know the term. We look it up. And that's the way we should be reading these things. And that's what he's saying. Tone is this, but then there's a definition of tone. And each one of those words is paragraphs. And giving us these things, we have power in our words. We have to be cautious with them. I'm going to skip to the last paragraph. Not the symptoms of disease. Oh, my mistake, everybody. Why abnormal function, second to last, and morbid tissue contemporaneous? Because normal and abnormal tissue can only perform functions becoming their condition. Their structure and function depends upon their tension. Why are not the functions of respiration, pulsation, temperature equally affected in disease? Because the impingement, poison, or autosuggestion may not change the tension of the innervating nerve of such function to the same degree. That's why in the beginning of this book, first 250 pages, he's pretty much talking about Carver and autosuggestion and have no place in chiropractic because it doesn't change the tension on the system. It's not doing the job that has the most outcome. Go ahead, Barry.
So what I hear here is tension, control, structure, and function.
Say that again.
This tension, control, structure, and function. Their structure and function depending upon their tension. And we were just saying, right? Structure dictates function. Here it's all about tension.
Yeah.
And the impingement changes the tension in the nerve system. It makes it greater or lesser, makes it, and that becomes the issue in the subluxation. And he goes in other parts as we're going forward here, talks about any bone can put pressure on a nerve and cause the change. Because he talks about the difference in a few minutes here about the difference between you can't pinch
Let's read
a
it.
bone where atlas is, but atlas can be misaligned and put pressure on a nerve and cause an impingement in the process.
Now,
It's
with an
not a
aberrant
pinch, it's an impingement. And that's
we're going to read that in a moment.
Yeah.
We're going to read that. But aberrant tension on a bone will actually change the shape of the bone. It's called Wolff's Law, right? So it'll adapt to the tension that it's under. It has no thought, and it's not necessarily for the benefit, but just to maintain function. As that tension changes again to different, better, hopefully better, not worse tension or function, that bone goes back to its original intention and
But
function.
that's the change in the tension or the shape of the bone because of abnormal tension on the bone is the innate function to adapt to the abnormal stresses on the bone.
That's it.
And that's what causes the bone to lay the calcium down differently in the body as it's trying to protect itself and do what it knows to do to be able to continue to function in the best possible way with the interference that's there. And so it adapts to that stress and it changes the shape of the bone to accept that stress in a different way than normal.
That is well defined. Absolutely. Absolutely. Page 400, 845.
It's a funny thing, I love talking about stuff like that because people so often you talk about innate and what innate does, and its job is to adapt the forces in the body, so that's what it does, and that's an expression of innate in the body.
That's right. 100%.
Some of the old
100%.
Radiology, from the Palmer Clinic, Percy Remeber, some of the others would talk about whatever showed up on x-rays, the adaptations of innate. This was innate at work. So Alan saying that, we also saw that in the writings in the 50s, 60s, and 70s coming out of the research in x-ray.
Anybody else? Forward is the title of this chapter. The science of chiropractic makes another step forward, one in accord with and demonstrated by anatomy. This advance, like all others, with one exception of the bifid table, which should be credited to Dan Riesland or T.H. Story, has been made by me. It has long been held by chiropractors and of late by osteopaths that functions were abnormal because of the nerve's pinch and foramen or between joints. Now watch these two methods patch their sails. We adjust the toes for corns and bunions, and there are no nerves between the articulations. Therefore, nerves cannot be pinched by displacement of these joints. The first and second pair of spinal nerves do not pass through intervertebral foramina between two notches, but through long grooves, which cannot impinge upon nerves as they pass onward. Yet, we have many diseases which are caused by displacement of the atlas, where there is no possibility of nerve being pinched in the superior or inferior grooves of the vertebra. The above are facts which every investigator will admit. The theory of subluxation, because the two notches which form the foramina of the dorsal and lumbar vertebra, thereby impinging upon the nerves which pass through their openings, does not look plausible when applied to those vertebrae, but it will not hold good in any other joint. The business of chiropractors to adjust any of the 300 articular joints of the skeletal frame. But why do so if there are no nerves between the articular surfaces? We, as chiropractors, never attempt to explain to a
I,
yeah.
I just want to stop on that one sentence there for a minute before that. The business of chiropractors is to adjust any of the 300 articular joints of the skeletal frame. So he's saying chiropractic is whole body adjusting, you know, and not just spinal adjusting.
That is
In
an
his
absolute
time and
fact.
his teaching, that's what he's saying there.
Yep. And I've never said different. And I think it's important to realize this, where people misquote this all the time. I won't adjust anything past L5 or C1, C2, right?
Yeah,
This
and
is,
all that works. I'm just saying if so many people get lost when they're talking about straight chiropractic as being spine only, hand only, spine only, or something. But but Didi was bigger, was looking at at a whole body ability of being adjusted. Any bone in the spine could be adjusted as far as he
outline
goes.
note.
These since we're going down all these rabbit holes, this is fun. Um, this is also where, in addition to the rabbit hole, the awareness is this is also where it's not the vertebrae above and below. So the classic definition of Stevenson's is null and void here because there's no vertebrae above the atlas. It's the skull. It's not a vertebrae. And hence we go back to the articular surfaces here.
And Lord knows I find that occiput all the time.
And I'll say this, I have said, a subluxation has a nerve component. I've said it, right? I've said it maybe as early as yesterday, for all I know. He's saying no. No nerve component, right?
No, it's always a nerve component. The nerve has to be impinged.
No,
But
or
it's
does the
but it
nerve have
isn't,
to
but it can't
be
be
an abnormal
pinched.
tension?
Well, it has to be impinged for the abnormal tension.
I don't think they're one and the same. I think those are different things. An impingement and tension. He's saying you cannot pinch that vertebra
Right.
in the foramen,
Well, he
right?
always says you can't pinch or you can't he says that consistently, but you can't pinch. But the impingement, the pressure or the change causes the nerve to function differently and either increase or decrease the transmission of the impulses.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the impingement is the neuroskeleton, like the hydrostatic pressure, not bone on a nerve pinch.
It's
Yeah. I mean,
from
if you
its
move the
impingement
atlas and
is
it
an
changes
inhibition.
the stress on the nerve, then it's going to change it's going to change the tension of the nerve.
That's good stuff. Very important stuff. This is a very important chapter. Very, very important. All right. Shall I go on?
Sure.
We, as chiropractors, never attempt to explain to a prospective student or patient how a displacement of the atlas pinches nerves as they pass through its grooves. True. We relieve abnormal conditions used by displacements of that vertebra, but it is not by relieving a pinched nerve. They may be pressure by the impingement, but this does not imply that nerves are impinged between two articular
Pinched,
surfaces. Yeah,
not
there are
impinged. They're
none
pinched,
impinged. If
not
we,
not impinged. The nerves
it,
are not pinched between the articular
right,
surfaces.
if we will use the word impingement in the sense of pressure, and remember that an impingement, instead of squeezing or pinching a nerve, only increases its tension by stretching. we will have an explanation which will explain one which anatomists cannot gainsay. Remember that only sensational tissue are nerves. They sense everything. It will be a well-known fact that heat will relieve pain by relaxing nerve tension. After that, by assuming certain attitudes, we relax instead of tensify the already stretched nerves. Now for explanation, which will intelligently explain bones cannot be displaced except at joints. This displacement causes tension on nerves because of the displaced portion projecting against them. This pressure causes not only tension, but an irritation depending upon the amount of pressure and character of surface or edge which is brought to bear against it. The difference between a rounded surface and a sharp edge will be apparent when we compare the acute excruciating pain of neuralgia from that of rheumatic aches. Now, there's another paragraph after that. You guys want to say anything before I finish that paragraph?
No, I just reiterate what we were just talking about.
Because we're gonna stop at this page and we're gonna start at this next one next time, okay? The philosophy of chiropractic in quotes.
It's not about the philosophy at all, actually.
It's not?
No.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's in
Okay.
quotes. So, because he talks about, I failed to find a line of causation. The science of principles. Oh, we might not. I don't know. We might skip it. I don't know.
Okay. Read where we are though.
Disease is a lack of coordination between innate, the source of power, and its expression. This book contains many chiropractic pointers which have never appeared in print. It will now be in order for the seasoned
Secondhand fountainhead.
second-hand fountainhead. It will now be in order for the second-hand fountainhead, discoverer, developer, and founder to lay claim to them before they are 11 years old. Chiropractic furniture, chiropractic furniture is second-handed, whether received honorably or stolen. He's getting his punches in, I'll tell you. That's pretty
That's
fun.
right. That's exactly what that is.
That was a punch. Carol and Bob, you might remember when this was from Williams Lake. This is the last Williams Lake event we had with Pasquale and I bought this shirt in New Paltz, New York. We had fun up there. And, it's one of those things, we were talking about this. I was just up at the New York Council, a philosophy night in New York, and how important it is to gather. And there were a lot of people, almost 50 years. No one 50 years in practice, but a lot of people 40 years plus, 30 years plus. And then we had some 7 months and, 2 years and 3 years, which was awesome, right? I'm 21 years. And, just seeing that and just showing them that even 40 years, people are still driving an hour and a half, 2 hours, in the middle of the night. They could be with their families on a cold night to gather as chiropractors. It was an amazing night. It really, really was. I thought it was incredible. Great speakers. I got a chance to speak, but I got a chance to listen, which was the most important part. And I had a blast. So I can't wait to come up again. I already booked my room for New Beginnings. So everybody go book your room before they run out. All right, what'd you guys get out of this? Alan, you were excited about this one. Any other insights from you?
And not at the moment. There was some good stuff in this, and things that even we slip by us periodically that we need to be focused on, and I think of us as being, this is energizing for me every time we get together. Just like you're talking about the other group, it's a that we're talking about the real stuff here, and it's important to make sure that we're clear as we discuss it, and recognize that some of this is still valid and some of it has modified some as we've moved, a century later, or more than a century later. But that it's the fact that it is still the chiropractic so far is still strong and valid and growing in numbers, if not in principle. And we have to, it's our job to make sure the principle continues.
Well, it is, and it falls on every generation. You miss one and it slips away. It only takes one to forget about it all. Like, oh yeah, there was this thing we heard about once, maybe, or we didn't hear about it at all. Many people have no clue whatsoever. We had someone come in. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Hig, and then I'll follow up.
No, it was just an insight. Go ahead.
Got it. When we started off on the chiropractor's work at the beginning of the night, I was thinking, this should be printed up next to like a 10 by 12 photo of D.D. Palmer. And then I realized Haig had one and donated it to Sherman. I loved that poem, how it started, which is interesting because it's from the Health Journal in St. Paul, Minnesota. And that's where Morikubo ended up going up to as well as Minnesota. So it'd be interesting to see who actually wrote that. And then when he talks about tonight, he talked about these terms, like we mentioned, tone and tension and pressure. And it's really important. And like Alan was saying, we slip and check. And to go to that page, 841, finally, on a second book, page 841, he has these definitions that are real clear and they build up. And I don't know if you noticed on this last, the last sentence before the last paragraph, disease is a lack of co-ordination between innate, the source of power, and its expression. That's the triune. And Reggie Gold wrote his thesis on this. And a lot of people think the triune came straight from Reggie Gold, but it didn't. It came before that. And here Didi is talking about that because it's creation, transmission, and expression. And he talks about this, the source, and then its expression. So really valuable night from start
Not showing
to
up,
finish.
sorry. That's the triune. It's BJ. It's that's a thesis.
Yep. And a lot of people think that he came up with it, and he didn't.
It's right there.
I have a copy, and I'll try and scan this and send it to you guys, of Stevenson's thesis.
Cool.
That from yes, that initially the ICA philosophy conference group. I was a founding member, and originally they started to republish some of the original theses, and then they stopped doing that. But this is one that they published very early on, and I have a copy of that, and I will try to, although I have some pencil marks in it, but I'm not, but I will try to see if I can scan it and send it to you guys, because I'm sure you guys would appreciate having a chance to look at it.
I got a cool new booklet from Dr. George Curry at this event that I've never
Oh,
seen before. He made a bunch of copies of it, and he had a few copies. I'm not sure where he came from. I don't think they're original, but it's always fun to get a new little chiropractic trinket. I'll find it. Barely got home from New York. It was madness. All my flights got canceled. I had to go from LaGuardia to Newark. I had to go to another state to fly out. And
oof.
Orlando, there were people lined down the hallways. All the things were all full. It was incredible. I got the last flight out of there. I may have to cancel my seminar in Life West this weekend. I don't want to fly again. It's pushing my luck too much. Man. Anyway, this was a great meeting tonight. Thank you, everybody. We're gonna be doing a little skipping around at the end. It's not as juicy, but there's some juicy pieces, and we're gonna pick all the juice out of there, okay? And get some good stuff. I'm always open to some insights. And I try and read ahead. I don't always get a chance to, so I like to listen to you if you got some insights and maybe a few places to skip. Alan's got some good suggestions, but we'll get through it. We're almost done. I mean, we're literally almost there. I'm excited about it. It's a couple of pages at a time, but that's how it goes, right? All right, everybody. Have a great night, and I'll see you next week.
We're within 150 pages of the end.
Yeah, exactly.